Good afternoon and welcome to this meeting of the Standing Conference Agreed Syllabus of Caerphilly Standing Advisory Council on Religious Education, being held on Monday the 14th of February 2022 at 3 p.m. This meeting is being held remotely via Microsoft Teams. This meeting is being recorded and will be made available to view via the Council's website, except for discussions involving confidential or exempt items. Therefore, the images and audio of those individuals present and or speaking will be publicly available to all via the recording on the Council website at www.caerphilly.gov.uk. I'll now do a roll call of members to see who is in attendance, and we'll do the councillors first. I've had apologies from Councillors Aldworth, Collis and Oliver, and Councillor Teresa Parry here.
Emma, present.
And I had apologies from Councillor Julian Simmons, and I'm here myself as well. The teacher representatives, Helen Bartley.
Present.
Thank you. Tara Lloyd.
Present.
Mynir Jones. We've had apologies from Catherine McCulloch, Claire McLaughlin.
Present.
And from the religious and other belief organisations, we've had apologies from Envis Hawthorne. Janet Jones present.
Present.
We've had apologies from Mr Martin Weston. Is Mr Michael Gray present?
Present. Present.
And Major Paula Hubbard?
Not in attendance, Chair.
Right, thank you. And we've had apologies from Mr Ken Chamberlain. Could I check if the following officers are present? Hayley Jones, EAS Curriculum Partner.
Present.
Vicky Bodenham, School Improvement Officer.
Present.
Mike Wallbank, Senior Solicitor.
Present, Chair.
And Rebecca Barrett, our Clerk.
Present, Chair.
I'd also like to welcome supporting officers from committee services who are present in the background. Thank you all for your attendance, and please can I remind attendees that if they lose connection during the meeting, please make every effort to reconnect. However, the meeting will continue as long as we are quorate. Committee services are on hand and will be able to assist you to reconnect if necessary. Could I ask people to keep their microphones on mute until they are invited to speak? And if you wish to speak, please use the hands up function in Microsoft Teams. Today we'll be voting by roll call. And now we'll move to the agenda. Item 1, apologies for absence. Well, we've had apologies from several people that I noted as we were doing the roll call. Are there any other apologies? No. Item 2, declarations of interest. Councillors and officers are reminded of their personal responsibility to declare any personal and or prejudicial interests in respect of any item of business on this agenda in accordance with the Local Government Act 2000, the Council's Constitution and the Code of Conduct for both councillors and officers. Please use the hands up function to indicate if you have any such declarations. No declarations of interest. Item 3 is to consider the preparation of a new agreed syllabus for religion, values and ethics. So can I hand over to you, Hayley from EAS?
Diolch, Chair, yes, and prynhawn da everyone. So I'm going to attempt now to share my screen. Okay. Beck, can you see that?
Yes, Hayley, that's
fine. I can
see
it.
Perfect. Okay. So, well, welcome everybody to our RVE Agreed Syllabus Conference. So, as we all know, from September 2022, there will be changes to the curriculum that will affect RE or RVE as it will be called. Now, this is the first of our Agreed Syllabus conferences and is a chance for us to look at the statutory RV guidance that was published on Hub on the 10th of January. And then we can consider if we will adopt it as our new agreed syllabus going forward for Caerphilly from September 2022. Now, the Welsh Government have been developing this guidance for over the last 2 years through a process of co-construction that have been supported by practitioners, stakeholders and other experts such as yourselves. Now, the purpose of this RVE guidance is really to provide additional support on how RVE can be taught within the humanities area of learning and experience for schools. It is to emphasise the integral nature of RVE and also outline any other unique and distinct contributions that RVE can make to the curriculum for Wales. So this is Caerphilly's current agreed syllabus for RE. We know that an agreed syllabus specifies what is recommended to be taught in RE within our local authority, and it should be reviewed no later than the expiry of 5 years from when it was first adopted or when it was last agreed that the current syllabus would be continued. Each local authority has a legal duty to convene an agreed syllabus conference to review the syllabus and recommend an appropriate syllabus to the local authority to adopt. The new agreed syllabus, which this is the draft version, it doesn't actually, the cover doesn't actually look like this, it will look however we decided we wanted to look, must therefore take into regard the Curriculum for Wales and the RVE supporting guidance when recommending an agreed syllabus for adoption by the local authority, which is what we're going to try and do. Therefore, adopting the RVE guidance as the new locally agreed syllabus for Caerphilly would comply with this. Once this has been agreed then, all maintained schools and settings are required to have regard to this agreed syllabus, including schools of religious character in the design of the agreed syllabus element in the RE or RVE provision. Okay, I know you've all been given the links to the hub guidance for RVE in your agenda packs. And I would just like to spend some time going through or navigating just through the guidance so we can all be aware of where everything is and how we can find it. So fingers crossed this works. Let's log in first. Oh, doesn't like that. Okay, so this is the hub homepage, and it's what you would be directed to if you were looking for the RVE guidance. And as you can see just here, there's a Curriculum for Wales icon. And if we click on our Curriculum for Wales icon, it takes us sort of to the hub guidance landing page. And the first part I want to direct you to is the summary of legislation. So we're going to click on that. Okay, in the summary of legislation then, there are there's a context page, and the contents page has got legislation for all different parts of the curriculum. But the one that we need to focus on today is religion, values and ethics. So we can just click on that and it'll take us to the legal status and the guidance, any legislation for RVE or surrounding RVE. Okay, so it is very substantial. There's a lot of information here, and I'm sure you've had a chance to look at it in your own time, so you don't need me to read through it all, but I just kind of want to highlight some important information. So on here we have any kind of legislation, the changes to legislation in regards to the name change, and the fact that they are non-religious philosophical convictions considered in the new curriculum. Some definitions then of terms have been included, and then how it affects different schools and settings. So as we go down, there's advice in the legislation section in regards to our standing councils, and also then how the changes affect post-16. As we go down, there's more information on agreed service conferences, and then we've got at the bottom, so it all fits into the syllabus. And then at the bottom, we've got the important part where it talks about the right to withdraw from the curriculum. Now I'm just pointing you towards this information just so you know how to navigate it, and I will come back to this in a moment in regards to the major legislative changes that's gone on. Okay, so then to come out of there, we then go back to the top, and if I can just use my mouse, and I'm going to go back to the Curriculum for Wales homepage, and I'm then going to take you to the bit where it gives you guidance on the RVE specifically. Now this, as we know, is sitting within the humanities area of learning and expertise. So we go to that link there, and then we go to section 5, designing your curriculum. Again, when you come to this landing page, you get another contents page where we can go specifically to how RVE should be implemented within the school setting. So this page, again, I'm not going to read through it all. I just want to highlight some important things in regards to how the guidance can be implemented in schools, and then how it may, or how you may want to take it forward as your new agreed syllabus. So again, we have an introduction just setting out the importance of religion, values and ethics, and then what the purpose of this guidance, this documentation is. It's also got these blue hyperlinks here, which then takes us to other parts of the document, so back to the legislation summaries, which is quite handy because you can navigate, and it makes it very interactive and easy for schools to use. Then we've got the audiences, so who it's designed for, so head teachers, governing bodies, SACRE or SACS as we will be known, and so forth. Then we've got a little bit about the agreed syllabus and how we should set it out. And the important thing to note here is that it is even set in the guidance that a local authority could adapt or adopt this and take it forward as their new agreed syllabus. So it's kind of been written for the purpose that we can just kind of pick it up and then adopt it as our new agreed syllabus. Okay, so then it talks about RVE and how it fits into the curriculum for Wales. So again, there's the hyperlinks to the 4 purposes, making sure that it's all encompassing and it all fits into the wider curriculum for Wales, because it is really important to note that our agreed syllabus must have regard to the curriculum for Wales. So this kind of does the job for us. It's all been integrated. There's a section then on spiritual development, and then further down we have all of the information about how that affects us, and then designing our curriculum. So that just helps teachers in how they're going to integrate RVE into their curriculum and the area of learning, the humanities area of learning. Okay, RVE and the 4 purposes then. So there's this section here that is talking about or giving examples of how RVE contributes to the 4 purposes. And this gives practitioners clear ideas of what to include within their RVE curriculum design. So it talks about, if we go a little bit further down, things like asking philosophical questions, you know, having informed viewpoints, making sure that we explore religious and non-religious philosophical convictions. So all of these are contributing to our 4 purposes. Okay, then we go down a little bit further, and we've got a section then on RVE and statements of what matters. Now, this looks very small. However, actually, it's just briefly telling us in quite a simple way that teachers, practitioners, and everybody just need to make sure that when we are planning for RVE, planning delivering for RVE, that we are always making links back to the statements of what matters. So that's really important. And then it sets out these ideas of RVE concepts. Now, the RVE concepts are quite high-level concepts, which can be explored by schools and fit with their curriculum design process, because it's not meant to be granular. We're not meant to be prescriptive. We are meant to be saying these are the kind of high-level concepts you can explore, and then you can fit them into your school setting to suit your pupils. There's some very high-level concepts such as spirituality, identity and culture, religious beliefs and practices, and then this idea of Cynefin, diversity, symbolism, and so on and so forth. Now, these high-level concepts sit above what then become the RVE lenses. And the RVE lenses then in this next section is a way of exploring, or schools can explore RVE concepts within the humanities AOLE and the statements of what matters. Now, there are 7 sub-lenses, so for instance, searching for meaning and purpose, the natural worlds and living things. And these sub-lenses, in basic terms, just help practitioners to understand what RVE actually is, sort of on a school practical level. It is giving schools some ideas to be able to come up with appropriate but creative ideas for content to ensure that they are delivering good quality RVE to their students, but also ensuring there is a depth and a breadth of knowledge within the curriculum. So that is all there. And then finally, we've got this little section here, this lovely little section here that sets out learner progression. So all of the learning journeys are the lenses. They've got learning journeys, and these learning journeys then have been illustrated to show how a pupil can move from 3 to 16 and how they can show progress within RVE. So that is a basic whistle-stop tour of the guidance. So I go back to my PowerPoint, hopefully. Okay, so let's go back then to our legal part of the guidance, and let's just summarise some of the main headlines or the changes that we need to be aware of in this agreed syllabus conference. So the main legal position of RE as it stands now currently in Wales has not changed. It is mandatory, and it will remain mandatory as we move into the new curriculum and it becomes RVE. However, there have been some important and significant amendments to the current legislation, which I will now talk you through, and they're documented in the legislation summary section that we've just looked at on Hub. So you can look at it at your leisure in a bit more detail if you need to. So, as you're now aware, RVE, the first thing is, will become Religion, Values and Ethics from September 2022. So, although the name change doesn't signify a huge change in the subject necessarily, essentially it's still RE as we kind of know it now. It does, however, reflect a very important addition to the legislation, and that is, by law, RVE will now have to be more pluralistic. But this means that we have to reflect that not all people in Wales are religious, and we must make sure that there is, that when we teach in RVE, it does include both religious and non-religious convictions in our schemes of learning and our work. The next 3 bullet points, so mandatory 3 to 16, funded nursery settings, non-maintained nursery settings and post-16, they're all kind of interconnected. So as we know, RVE will be mandatory, like RE is now. However, for the first time, the age range is going to change for the delivery of RVE. So from September, the age range for this will mean that 3 to 4-year-olds will now be expected to have a diet of RVE. So this will have a massive impact on sort of nursery classes in schools for the first time. And this is a significant change, and it's really important that practitioners and schools are really aware of this, and the children are provided with this entitlement. When it comes to post-16 then, the post-16 age groups, so for instance, 6th forms, the mandatory status of RVE now is being removed, and it will be optional for these learners. Now, this doesn't prevent schools from providing or timetabling RVE for students if they wish to. So schools can choose to timetable RVE for 6th formers, continue to do it like they are doing currently. However, if individual learners want RVE and is not being provided in schools in 6th forms, then schools would legally have to provide RVE. So it's vital the schools with 6th forms think through carefully how they're going to provide for these pupils in order to kind of avoid any conflict going on. But possibly the most dramatic change to all of the guidance is that there will be no withdrawal from RVE in the curriculum for Wales. Now, this could have a massive impact on some of the schools in regard to the way RVE is delivered. and it's vital that we're aware of this to avoid any kind of legal challenges from parents about their child having received a diet of RVE in schools, and to make sure that all practitioners involved in its delivery are confident in doing so in an objective, critical and pluralistic manner. So they are the headlines of the summary of the legislative changes. Further to this then, we have the main legal requirements for RVE that should be reflected in our agreed syllabus. So the first bullet point basically is the same as its predecessor, religious education, apart from the word Wales be replacing the word Great Britain in the previous agreed syllabus. And this is to reflect the fact that religious traditions in Wales are in the main Christian, while taking into account the teaching and practices of other principal religions represented in Wales. However, it's the second bullet point that is new, and this basically is now what's made the name change come into effect, because again, it's just all about the idea that we must reflect the non-religious philosophical convictions that are held in Wales. Nice little map right here. So RVE then is still going to be locally determined, and by law this has to happen, in the same way as its predecessor, religious studies, religious education, was determined locally. Now, this can be appreciated through our little map, where each of the 22 local authorities are going through the same process as we are today, where we are trying to agree our new locally agreed syllabus in time for the rollout for September 2022. Now, our aim is for Caerphilly to try and put forward a locally agreed syllabus which is relevant to our schools and settings, and also pay in regard to the new curriculum and everything that surrounds that. So we're also considering the fact that the RVE guidance should form this new locally agreed syllabus for us. So instead of taking it and remaking it, we are using what has been provided. So when making this decision then, we have to note that the Welsh Government guidance not only provides all of the legal guidance as we've seen from the Hub website, but it's also setting out the expectations of what needs to be included and considered when planning for RVE within the humanities area of learning and within the new curriculum for Wales. It is ensuring a good depth and breadth of disciplinary knowledge is covered in RVE within this integrated curriculum, and is offering useful guidance and examples for teachers and for learners, and it gives RVE progression. It shows the progression steps with its about statement, which is helpful. So if this guidance is adopted or adapted as our new agreed syllabus for Caerphilly, it will give us consistency and coherency then if all the other local authorities choose to take up the guidance, like what happened with the National Exemplar Framework. Okay, so we must remember then and highlight that the agreed syllabus, when we look at it, it is not designed to be a scheme of work. So when we look at it and we think that maybe it isn't enough detail or doesn't give us enough information, it is not designed to be a scheme of work for schools. It is meant to be a helpful guide and a legal reference point to support schools with their design for their curriculum as appropriate for their learners. And to make sure that RVE is appropriately integrated into the humanities area of learning and experiences. The approach of the Curriculum for Wales framework is based on the principle of subsidiarity, and as such, each agreed syllabus should recognise and reflect the autonomy that each school has in realising its own curriculum. So one of the intentions of this statutory RVE guidance is to provide the right balance between the central steering of the Curriculum for Wales framework and also the requirements then of a locally determined RVE guidance or agreed syllabus. Therefore, the statutory RVE guidance has been written as a basis for us to be able to create or use as our agreed syllabus. And it's been made explicit, as I pointed out earlier on, this guidance can be adopted by the local authorities as their agreed syllabus going forward. Right, what's next then? So a recommendation I would have is that we set up a working party for members and officers to develop and finalise a forward to turn the RVE guidance published by the Welsh Government into our own agreed syllabus. Then this finalised agreed syllabus will be presented, hopefully in the summer term, to further meeting of standing conference for approval. This can then be rolled out by September or before September, late summer, but by September 22 to the schools to make sure they can implement this agreed syllabus. Few final thoughts, because I'm sure you've had to hear me speak now, is we should adopt or adapt the RVE guidance shows that we are going to be compliant with any legislative changes. And as you know from the guidance and from Hub that I've just shown you, there are quite a few. Also, SACRE are developing and facilitating professional learning based on this new guidance for religion, values and ethics, and it encompasses all of the stuff that is on Hub and helps to realise the curriculum for Wales, and it complements this. Now, if as an LA you deviate too much away from this, then practitioners will need a professional learning offer, and we would need to think about how we are going to do this if we deviate too much from the guidance. And I think the biggest thing is there will be a consistent approach to RVE across Wales. So like, again, I said, when we adopted the guidance, the National Exemplar Framework, there's consistency, then this will provide the same consistency across Wales. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Hayley. Members, do you have any questions for Hayley or any comments? If you could use the hands up facility within Teams for that. No, I can't see any hands up there. So the recommendations in the report are to note the update from Hayley on the progress made to date on the agreed syllabus in view of the recent Welsh Government guidance, and for us to consider and agree a way forward on the preparation of a new agreed syllabus for RVE. So do members have any views on this? Or do we agree with the suggested way forward that Hayley has given us in 1.6 of the report? That we adopt this guidance as the agreed syllabus, subject to the inclusion of a foreword which will be relevant to the work of Caerphilly as the local authority in developing RVE, and suggest that we have a working group that would be set up to finalise the content ahead of presenting it at a further meeting of the Standing Conference for Agreement. I can see Teresa Parry, you've got your hand up. Teresa?
Yeah, sorry, just before we go to that, can I ask, I know we've got somebody from a solicitor here. I'm just wondering whether we will encounter any difficulties when it's it's compulsory and people can't opt out.
Was that something you wanted me to comment on, Chair?
Yes, please.
Yes, please, Mike.
Yeah, I mean, essentially, the Welsh Government has said that this is compulsory, and parents won't have the right to withdraw from it. So there's no element of discretion in this process around that. The best suggestion I can make is to have make sure that there is an information campaign in place. Make sure it's communicated to parents what the changes are going to be, and obviously assist schools in providing that information as well. And if that information focuses on the changes to the curriculum, that it is going to be more pluralistic, that it is going to comprise a wider range of beliefs as well as those who have no faith at all, then hopefully that much broader spectrum will be sufficient to convince the vast majority of people that that this isn't something that they want to withdraw from anyway. But as to what challenges you're going to get, it's like with anything, you can't really guess what people are going to come up with until the thing's been implemented and you start to get challenges. But in terms of how to mitigate it, that's what I would suggest.
Okay, thank you.
Hayley?
Thanks, Chair. I think I'd just like to add to that as well. As a teacher myself, I think the best way forward, personally for me, is to make sure you're just open with your planning and to get the parents in or to get the guardians in and have a chat with them and show them, you know, what your intentions are and why you're doing it in that way. And then hopefully that can sort of alleviate any kind of issues and also build up the conversation then between home and school to make sure you are working in partnership and then everybody can hopefully feel happy and confident with what's going on at the classroom level. And as a parent, I think I would like that as well. So I don't know if that helps or if that alleviates any of your worries.
Yeah, I think when somebody says it's compulsory, I think it, you know, can put some people's backs up, you know, without real due cause or maybe concern. So I was just worried about any kind of backlash that could create.
I'm hoping as well, where they've been integrated in the humanities sort of AOLE, the fact that it'll just fit in naturally into the teaching in schools. So I know not all schools, but a lot of schools are going down a sort of like integrated approach where they go in and they have humanities lessons as such, and then they might be talking about something or exploring something, and then just ideas and concepts and conversations sort of like fit in naturally, and then you kind of explore those ideas, whereas not necessarily always, right, today we're going to look at so and so, so and so. So yeah, but I suppose it depends on the school's approach and yeah, and how people take it. Yeah.
Thank you, Hayley.
No problem.
Right, thanks, Hayley. If there are no other questions or comments, could I ask someone to formally move that the recommendations, together with the suggestion in 1.6 that we adopt the Welsh Government guidance as our agreed syllabus, and that we have the working party to do it sort of to sort of make sure it's sort of Caerphilly orientated. I see that we've got a couple of hands up there. Michael Gray, I take it you were moving it? You're on mute, Michael.
Sorry, yes, I formally move it.
Thank you. And I see Janet's hand up. Janet?
Yep. Yeah, I'll second that.
Thank you. We'll now take a vote by roll call. So I'll call out the names, and if you would say whether you're for, against, or abstaining. Councillor Teresa Parry.
For.
Thank you. Helen Bartley.
For.
Tara Lloyd.
For.
And Claire McLaughlin.
For.
Janet Jones.
For.
Michael Gray.
For.
And I'm for as well. So I take it back that your arithmetic is the same as mine, that is unanimously for.
Yes, Chair, a 7-4, that's unanimous.
Right, well, thank you. So that's unanimous. So we've approved that we adopt the Welsh Government guidance as our locally agreed syllabus, and that we have a working party to prepare the forward and to tailor it to Caerphilly. So could I ask if anybody's willing to be part of that working party, please? Anybody wishing to volunteer? Right, I can see. We've got a few there. We've got Tara and Claire, and I would be happy to be on that as well. So if anybody else, oh, and I see Helen is volunteering as well. So thank you, Helen. So if you made a note of those, Becky, and Michael Gray as well. And also, I think Rebecca will be emailing the people who weren't able to be present to ask them if they'd like to be part of that working party. So that we will then be able to bring that back then to a future meeting of this standing conference. So that brings us to the end of the agenda, and I'd like to thank everyone for attending today and for their participation. And we'll contact you shortly regarding the date for the next agreed syllabus conference. So I will now declare the meeting closed, and I'll ask you to leave the Teams meeting now by pressing the hang up or the leave button. And please could I ask committee services now to end the recording. Thank you.